It's Thursday, November 17th. I'm in the great state of Florida at the Fox Nation Patriot Awards, and the show starts now. I'm here in the state, lucky and smart enough to elect the country's greatest governor, and by a lot. And in just a little bit, I'll be joined by some of Fox News' favorites, my colleagues, for a roundup of midterms, current events, bizarre stories, and a preview of what's going down tonight right here at the Fox Nation Patriot Awards. But first, for those of you who aren't familiar with the Patriot Awards, let me give you just a quick description. At these awards, we do not honor TV personalities. We do not honor woke musicians and dance around with their lady bits hanging out. We do not honor self-aggrandizing Hollywood elites who wear millions in clothing and jewelry and then preach to us little people about conservation and righteousness. Now, at the Fox Nation Patriot Awards, we honor the often unsung heroes, the men and women of law enforcement, our military service members, patriotic Americans from big cities, small towns, and flyover states that work hard, don't ask for much, and who would give the shirt off their back to a neighbor or fellow American. The kind of people who stand for the flag and kneel for the Lord. The kind of people who know freedom is not free and are willing to sacrifice all they have to preserve it, even for those who don't appreciate it. Those are the kind of folks we celebrate tonight, and I'm dang proud I get to be a part of it. And up next, I'm joined by Fox News and Fox News Radio resident funny man, Jimmy Failla. That's next. What's up, guys? We are here from the Fox Nation Patriot Awards, and I am with my radio brother.
There it is.
The resident funny man of Fox News and Fox News Radio, who graces the channel far more than I do, by the way.
Stop it.
Probably from your snazzy attire.
I'm just good at sneaking past security. I'm not scheduled on any of these shows. I just get onto the set and they're like, well, we're live. We might as well let them sit there.
That's the secret.
It's good to be here with you at the Patriot Awards. Can we just acknowledge this is not an award show, it's a zoo.
It is
we have
a zoo.
let people in to see us animals, and they're petting us. A woman fed me a few minutes earlier.
Was it something good, though?
It was like the zoo feed. I want feed me a piece of pizza. Look at me.
Well, listen, a lot of fans that love Fox and Fox News.
Do they ever?
Do you ever get anybody who sees you in New York and doesn't like you? Or
No.
are you safe on that?
Right now, I'm still at a place where everyone's nice to me, because they know I'm doing so much with so little intellectually. They kind of root for me, like the slow kid that got into the game. I'm like the Rudy of cable news. And that, you know the movie Rudy?
But still though, I feel that same way about our current president, but I still don't really like him. I feel bad for him. Like, hey, he's struggling, but I still don't feel great about him leading our country.
But I would still be nice to him in public because it would confuse him. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of things that would.
There's that going on.
So speaking of that, I have to ask you a couple midterm questions. We're a week after midterms. Finally, they got the votes counted.
How about that, huh?
At least mostly counted.
No rush, guys. It's only a week.
Exactly. Let's just stretch this out. Let's just have, the 25 days of Christmas. That's what midterms have been like.
Isn't it amazing that in Las Vegas they can count cards, but they can't count votes?
It is. Well, I lived in Las Vegas. I'm educated in Las Vegas, so, I got to tell you, sometimes the bar is low. But we're done with it now. It wasn't the turnout that some of us wanted. It wasn't a red wave. It was more of a pink splash. But a couple of things that I wanted to get your thoughts on, because when I saw this happen, I thought, Jimmy's the person I need to ask.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. Pennsylvania just in its entirety. Number one, John Fetterman. They said, his people said he might not be able to answer the way other senators answer. What's your take on that?
Well, I don't want to judge the people of Pennsylvania until we see what type of senator his wife turns out to be. Because this dude is not can we stop it right now? I believe that between Biden and Fetterman, the Democrats have something personal against sign language interpreters.
They do.
Because they're making these poor guys make up new signs on the go. Fetterman I saw him speaking the other day in the Senate. He didn't respond to the question, but he made a sign language interpreter shrug. Because the guy was like, I got no word for that. You're on your own.
What can you do?
Nothing. That's the problem.
The thing about it, though, is that they tell us, even for comedians like yourself, they tell us that he is off limits. We can't attack him. We can't say anything. You are a senator. Most of your job is speaking. This might be an important part of that, but we're not allowed to go there.
But that's the point of how ridiculous this is. It's like, we have empathy for his health condition, but that doesn't mean we have so much empathy that we should put somebody in the job who's unqualified. Point being, I like Stevie Wonder. I'm not going to hire him to drive my car when I leave the Patriot Awards tonight. And it's nothing against him or his blindness. It's just they don't have the best record driving.
We have to know our strengths.
Yes,
and our
thank you.
weaknesses.
And I'm saying that as an ex-New York City cab driver. Believe me, I'm not throwing a perfect game behind the wheel.
Another thing in Pennsylvania that might even be worse. Did you know that Pennsylvania, by a landslide, actually elected a dead man to their House of Representatives? No kidding you, Jimmy. By a landslide. The man died a month earlier. Landslide, Democrat, of course, which leads me to believe I know that Democrats who are dead vote.
Yeah.
I didn't know they are also elected.
You know what's funny?
Pennsylvania. You live close to Pennsylvania.
I
Is there
do.
something in the water?
It's not water. It's Iron City beer. All
Okay.
of my relatives live in Ambridge, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
They have icy light coming out of the tap in the morning, and I guess they're just hammered. But it is crazy that you've got a dead guy who was probably elected by dead people. You know the country's in a weird spot when you see a hearse with a bumper sticker that says, "Don't blame me, I voted Republican." So they're trying to work up.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up because I have, on Outkick, we do some bizarre stories from time to time on our website. None of them involve me, unfortunately. They're all other people that have, little obscurities that we like to point out. And I'm glad that you brought up the hearse because the first story I have for you that I want to get your reaction in. I got married about 4 weeks ago. My fiance, now husband, did not show up in a coffin, but there is a wedding that has now been viewed 8 million times on social media where the groom decided to show up in a coffin and be carried down the aisle in a coffin, only to exit the coffin when he reached the altar.
What?
What does that say about that marriage, I wonder?
Well, honestly, it throws me off a little bit because in the beginning of the relationship, you don't think about it. It's usually 5 years into the marriage that you want to die.
Right.
You know what I mean? I could see this if they were renewing their wedding vows at year 10. But in year 1, this does kind of throw me for a loop. Who is this weirdo? Did they meet at like Vampire Con or something like that?
Probably one of those Love is Blind type of things. Probably happened.
Somebody's been
there.
watching too much Twilight or something. I can't mess with this one.
I mean, it's great if you're getting money off the 8 million views. The wife might be like, you know what, if we're getting some collaboration dollars, some rev share on this one, that's fine. But it's a little much.
But
It's
this
a
guy
little
just better
much.
be careful because if he keeps rocking that coffin, the Democrats are going to elect him to office.
In Pennsylvania.
Good job. Good
In
callback.
Pennsylvania. We
Tommy.
brought that full circle. Next story for you. I know that you are heavily invested into the relationship of Tom Brady and Giselle. Okay? Now, the latest controversy is she has been seen vacationing with a jiu-jitsu instructor, and they say, that's just for the kids. What do we think here? They say that Giselle is going to go through her demon phase. I don't know what that is. I think it's just what they call women who divorced Tom Brady, and all the men that are in love with Tom Brady really don't like that,
Yes.
or maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe they have a chance now. I don't know. But what do we think about that?
It's this really weird thing that's going on because my focus has largely been on Tom Brady because now that he's like so happy, and it's not because they're divorced, it's because now that he no longer lives with a supermodel, he's allowed to eat. Did you see him yesterday? There's a picture of him eating pizza online with fans. Every shot of Tom Brady in the last 3 weeks, he's been at a different restaurant. Because he's been subsisting on a diet of cashews for like 3 years. That's why he broke up with her. He's hungry. Have you seen how skinny the guy is? So
Right. He has lost weight.
he's
in
lost
that,
like he's bone skinny, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to start a GoFundMe for Tom Brady. This is scary.
Well, now he can eat. So there's that. Maybe there's some fans here that could feed him as they fed you earlier. That could be interesting. But I need to know also what you think about. Are you a Swiftie? Are you a Taylor Swift fan?
Taylor Swift music?
Yes.
No, I am straight. I'm a straight man, so no. But no, she does good things. It's good pop music, but I don't listen to it.
So she is so popular that she crashed Ticketmaster.
Stop it.
People are very upset about it. It's almost like that whole crypto Bitcoin thing went down. These Taylor Swift fans are rabid about it. And now these seats are going for thousands and thousands of dollars, like more than Super Bowl tickets.
Dude.
What is the obsession with Taylor Swift? I am a Swiftie. I do like Taylor Swift, but I think it's a little much.
No, I think that's too much. And I think, to be clear, if you brought a lot of guys like me to the Taylor Swift concert, you could make even more money charging us to get out. Forget getting in. But there is this weird thing about Taylor. I think she's empowering in that, yes, she can sing and she makes good music, but it also makes everybody feel better about their own relationships because she's had a lot of struggles through the years.
Right.
I know she's in a better place now, but I think that's what made her so relatable. She was like the Adele of the other side of pop,
Yeah.
And I think people went to Taylor because they left feeling better. I know if I've been, in my cab driver's days, dropping people off to Taylor Swift concerts, I've never been able to get close enough to see what they're like because there's too many young girls and I'm not allowed within 500 feet of them, given the record. But I get the popularity on some level. It's just not for me.
Speaking of something that may or may not be for you, I'm going to tell you this. I think that we need to bring back the sanctity of Thanksgiving because everybody is putting up their damn Christmas decorations already. I get that the stores have to do it. They got to sell things.
Yeah.
But I see people out there, look, our tree is up. I think it's too soon, Jimmy.
Yep.
Is it too soon?
Yeah. I wait until after Thanksgiving to put up my lights. You want to know why? Because I'm not a sociopath. It's
Right.
way too soon. Because if you get too much of it, it kind of cheapens the value. You don't enjoy it. You know, what are we all just living in a CVS now where you put out Valentine's Day candy the day after Christmas, Easter candy the day after Valentine's Day?
Yep.
We've turned the world into like a perpetual Walgreens. And I don't think it works.
No, and I think people need to respect Thanksgiving, respect the bird.
Thank you. And one other thing, if you're going to jump the gun on Christmas decorations, no blow-ups. You want to know why? Because what happens is the blow-ups look good at night, but in the morning when they're all deflated, it looks like somebody did a drive-by and wiped out Santa and all the reindeer. It's got a lot of traumatized kids out there that see the morning blow-ups. If you're going to put them up, you got to leave them up.
Got to leave them up. And now with the price of electricity and everything, I mean, I think we're going to go back to just stringing popcorn on the tree. I think that might be the lens that people are viewing this holiday season. Like, we can't afford things. Maybe we'll go back to, like, did you ever watch Little House on the Prairie?
Yeah, of course.
When they got an orange for Christmas.
Now.
Yes.
And we only have like 4 reindeers because 8 of them were unvaccinated and they weren't allowed to fly. Christmas is going to be different, kids.
It's going to be a little tighter this year,
I'll
but that's
say.
okay. In conclusion, because I know you got to go do your radio show, what do you hope to see tonight at the Patriot Awards? Are you going to receive an award? Are you going to be giving out an award?
I'll be doing some stand-up at the beginning of the show.
Okay.
And then I'm just hoping not to see my radio producer in the lobby fountain, because he and I have a bad track record of going to these things where there's an open bar and then someone shoves me onto TV. This is always a potential career-ending event for me when I'm doing.
I wonder, does media relations have you on speed dial?
Yeah, there's also a shock collar. That's why I'm wearing this big thing, and it buzzes if I go the wrong way.
Well, I'm looking forward to it tonight, so I'm hoping that you just go buck wild.
I'll see you at the fountain.
If Pennsylvania can elect a dead man, Jimmy Failla can be uncensored on the Patriot Awards.
Boom!
And that's just, those are my final thoughts. Jimmy, thank you for being with us as
Tommy.
always, and I like the snazzy outfit.
Thanks, girlfriend.
I like it. Good to see you. Good to see you.
best.
All right. Up next, more of our Fox News and Fox Nation favorites. Stick around. Welcome back to Tomi Lahren is Fearless at the Fox Nation Patriot Awards, of course, here on Outkick as well. And I am joined by another Fox News favorite, Fox News contributor, all things Fox News, author as well, Raymond Arroyo.
Around the edges, yeah. Great to be with you, Tomi.
It's good to be
I'm
here.
delighted, yeah.
We are here at the Fox Nation Patriot Awards. If
I
you were to
noticed.
sum up what you've seen so far in one word, what would it be?
Well, my son, I can't do it in one word, but my
Okay.
son came here with me, and he said, this is like the Fox News Comic-Con.
It is.
Okay, and that's kind of what it is.
There's
I mean,
merch.
There's lots of merch. There's a little drinking around the edges, I've noticed. But there's
When
a
it's
lot
11:30 a.m., but that's fine.
Yeah, day drinking.
You know.
But I'm from New Orleans. You're in Tennessee.
Yes.
It's not uncommon. But, so that doesn't throw me. Lots of selfies and autographs and things from the start of the day. So I can only imagine.
Which
how
is
it
nice
for the
because
rest.
normally people hate us. So when we're in the confines of the Hard Rock Seminole, we feel better about ourselves.
It's a build me up. It's a pick
Yes.
me up. The whole event. No, they're lovely people. Look, so often, you know, we do this. We're on TV. We're on the internet. We're on radio. You don't get to see the people you provide a service to. So
Right.
for me, I love spending a moment with them, talking about what they like, what they don't like. It's kind of market research for me.
It is.
And I use it that way. And they're great. It's great to see the people. Though lots of Floridians. I'm surprised by
Yes.
the number of Floridians.
Well,
here.
Florida's a great state, and I want to talk about that. I want to get into it a little bit because I'm going to ask folks later. But I think this is a perfect litmus test kind of crowd for which way they're feeling about 2024. So from what you've heard on the streets and here at the Patriot Awards, do you think that this is like a mega crowd or is this a DeSantis crowd? Because it's hard. Because
Well-
typically I see a lot of red hats, but this is also Florida
know.
and they love Ron DeSantis and we love them both. But I wonder the sense of the crowd. If they were to
Well,
vote today, what do you think they would do?
My take on it is it shouldn't be a binary choice because I knew Ron when he was Congressman Ron DeSantis. He was always part of that America First mindset. That is his governing principle. So I think we do a disservice. And look, you're right. Somebody attacked me at the coffee counter this morning. I'm waiting in line for a coffee. Who do you want, DeSantis or Trump? Tell me. I'm like, God, I'm not the Pope of the GOP.
Yeah.
You decide who you want to run. But I think we're going to see what the primary contest brings. My sense is there are a few people in the party who can inspire the devotion and the excitement that Donald Trump can. That's done. People love Ron DeSantis. He's been a great governor. He's an articulate. He's got a beautiful family. I think a leader who's been willing to take hard choices and lean into those cultural battles that, frankly, we see what happens. It turns up electoral gold. because people feel you care about not only the bottom line, but the place they live every day.
That's the big thing, and I think that's where we failed in the midterms. A lot of candidates failed is they didn't bring it back home.
You're
they
right.
talked about everything sucking at a national level,
Right.
but they didn't bring it localized enough like Glenn Youngkin did in Virginia. You got to localize. You got to make parents understand what's at stake there.
That's correct.
We didn't get the red wave. We got more of a pink splash, right?
Pink trickle.
But
yeah.
here's the thing, too. Here's another part of this. The popular vote, the Democrats don't want to talk about the popular vote right now. But Republicans did very well in the popular vote.
That's
But I
true.
have to wonder, if all of these blue state liberals or purple state liberals didn't leave their blue-purple states and come to red states like Tennessee, like Florida, like Texas, would those races have been tighter?
They probably would have been a lot tighter. Because, I mean, we see it. When you see the groundswell, look at the difference between DeSantis' number. He barely beat that drug-out lunatic down in Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, we were found between the beds with the coke everywhere. I mean, it looked like a bakery in that place when they took the pictures. But the fact that he so slimly won that race, and now by a 20-point margin, something is clearly happening. That electorate has shifted, and I think you're right. We're seeing that around the country, and sadly, other parts of the country are being abandoned. So the GOP has to find a way to reach out to those people too and convince them on a practical level, we will help you with school curriculum, we will help you with protecting your kids, we will help you get great jobs and keep the government off your back. They failed to do that. I think you're right, and I've said it forever, Tommy. Let's Go Brandon is not a governing agenda. And these people thought it was, and they learned it's not. As bad as Biden is, as bad as the economy is, you've got to make an affirmative argument to get your base up out of the couch, off the bed, and come and vote for you. I don't think they did that.
Donald Trump has always done that, though.
Yeah.
And
he
then,
did it.
You know, then he took a little hiatus into kind of jaded, bitter vendetta land.
Yeah.
I think we're back from the announcement the other night. When you saw it, when you saw him walk out on that stage, did it feel like the same excitement that he had when he came down the elevator in 2015? Or, you know, are people over it? Are they getting over it?
Well, we'll have to see. Look, I did think, people texted me who were there and said, does Donald Trump look sedated to you at home? So in the room, they thought he was a little underplaying it all. But I think that was intentional. I think he's trying to be a statesman.
He said, this was a classy event. I'm going to keep it classy.
Right.
It wasn't like the rallies where everyone's cheering and yelling.
It
was like a classy ballroom event.
Right. No red meat.
I think they told him, tone it down. Don't make the personal attacks. Just keep it on policy. But he's not going to do that forever.
Well, we'll see. Look, he was much more Ronald Reagan than Don Rickles the other night. I like the Don Rickles Donald Trump. I think it's hilarious. I think he's cutting. That's why the crowd turns out. That's what excites people. The question is look, politics is all about the man who's needed or woman needed in this moment. Is Donald Trump the man of this moment? Is he the new Andrew Jackson, capable of coming back to that second term and igniting the party he helped build? We'll see. But it's going to be up to him to, I think, exercise the restraint and marshal the gifts he has, which we've been talking about. He has many of them. If he can do that, he can be the nominee again. If not, somebody else is going to be the nominee. We'll see.
The tricky part with me with Donald Trump is I know that he will make a great president again. I know that he will do what's needed to be done to make our country great again. I just don't know if he can get elected.
Yeah.
But you know what? I said the same damn thing in 2016.
Yeah,
I said,
I
I
think
love Donald
everybody
Trump, but I just don't know if this reality show host that's been in the public eye for the majority of his life, I don't know if he can get over the hump. And he did it, but then, you know, they really hated him after he won, so now they double and triple down on their Trump derangement.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But you have a book coming out. When does it officially launch?
The Wise Men Who Found Christmas is out now, and it's the
now.
real story of the wise men. We
don't hear enough about them.
Well,
and see, that's the thing.
But they're the most popular figures of Christmas after the baby and Mary. They are the most. Hallmark did a study. They are right after the Holy Family. It's the wise men. Why? The Eastern churches and South America, Central America, they celebrate the Three Kings Day. It's a big deal in their communities. In New Orleans, we have King Cake. It's the beginning of the carnival season. Big deal for us. So, and in the Eastern Church, they celebrate Christmas on the Epiphany. Of all days, January 6th is we're reclaiming January 6th for the wise men. It is the Feast of the Epiphany. Everything you and I knew about the wise men turns out to be wrong. Okay, I'm going to ask you a quick quiz. Now I'm turning the table. Sorry about this.
I hope it's not
Okay.
a wise man quiz.
You know the song, We Three Kings
Yes.
of Orient Are.
Yes.
How many kings were there? How many wise men were there?
I mean, I thought that there were 3 wise men.
I did too. Turns out the gospel only mentions 3 gifts. The Coptic church says there were 60 wise men. Syrian and Armenian churches in the 1st and 2nd century says there were 12 wise men. So there were more than that. They were not kings. They were not kings. They were magi, which are different from kings. They served kings. And they were not from the Far East. They were from just east of Judea. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Raymond. And everyone, check out your book, and I will see you later, of course, at the Patriot Awards.
You bet, and I'll be watching to make sure that you're not mobbed by this mob.
All right. Well, they're a friendly mob.
They're a nice mob.
All right. Coming up next, I am joined by another Fox News favorite, Joey Jones. He's on deck. Stick around. Welcome back to Tomi Lahren is Fearless, powered by Outkick, of course, here at the Fox Nation Patriot Awards, and I'm joined by my longtime friend. We were just on the big Saturday and Sunday show together on Fox, Joey Jones, and I saw you at the gym this morning.
I can't get away from you.
No, I know.
It's not a bad problem to have.
I'm following you. But I also have to ask you this, because you and I, the only Fox News personalities that I saw with my little eye at the gym today, why? Because even my producer says, you went to the gym this morning? Hell yes, I went to the gym this morning, because why? I like to eat. But why, for you, is going to the gym, even when you're at work, even when you're in this chaos, important?
Listen, routine is invaluable. Discipline is doing the hard thing even when no one's looking. You have an excuse not to. The gym isn't about getting buff or looking a certain way. It's about feeling good. And so this morning I had to get up for Fox and Friends, and they asked me if I was going to go gamble, and I kind of half-heartedly said, no, I think I'll go to the gym. So then I had to pay that promise, right?
Yeah.
I had to be there because I told the world I was going to.
Yeah. Well, that for me is so important, the routine and just holding yourself accountable.
Of course.
I think we could all do with a little bit more routine and self-accountability, which is why I have to talk about the midterms. You and I were just on the big Saturday and Sunday show, and even after we exited the big Saturday and Sunday show, they still didn't have counts done until Monday night in some places. And
they don't have counts done right now in some places.
It's still a mess. It's a god-awful mess. But there are a lot of Americans, a lot of people here that are fans of the Patriot Awards that are very disappointed about what happened in the midterms. They feel like their vote doesn't count. They feel like they'll never get this country back. They feel like they don't matter. What would you tell those people that are coming off of a low note of the midterms that they thought was going to be a high note, going into the holidays, not feeling their best?
At what point does giving up sound like a good idea? I tell people all the time, if you're in 5 o'clock traffic and you're going to be late for a very important meeting, you get to decide who you are when you show up at that meeting. So you can show up at that meeting flustered, defeated, ready to just give up, or you can show up at that meeting realizing that if you take the time to put your favorite song on, turn it to your favorite degree, you realize the worst part about your life is you have to be entertained and comfortable for longer than you meant to. Well, that's just all it is. We got to fight a little bit harder for longer than we meant to. We got to convince 18 to 30-year-olds about our ideas a little bit harder than we meant to. It's great that conservatism came easy to us, but I think it's something that most people can get on board with if you show them how it works. Republicans talked a lot about how what Biden and the Democrats are doing do not work. And here's the difference. President Trump campaigned on build the wall. That's proactive. Republicans in this midterm campaigned on the border is open. That's reactive.
Yeah.
So let's get proactive. Let's talk about solutions. And in towns and cities and states, show how they work.
I'm glad you brought up the border, because you're right. I heard a lot of Republicans talking about the border, but none of them said we're going to close the border. None of them said we're going to build the wall. None of them said we're going to deport. None of them said we're going to have more border enforcement. None of them said we're going to bring back Title 42. They didn't say anything proactive on the offense that they were going to do. They just said it's open, guys, but nobody actually believed that Republicans were going to do anything to solve the problem. I think the same thing with crime. A lot of people said, yeah, crime is bad right now, but Republicans are saying it's bad and it's dangerous, and we love police, but we didn't really put forth any solutions on how to fix crime either. And those are two issues that really do impact our national security.
And there are some places here, like if you look at the most progressive person, they'll say, well, crime is bad because socioeconomic disparity. Well, you know what? Republicans are pro-business. They're pro-free enterprise. They're pro-opportunity. They're pro-climbing the ladder. They're pro-working for it, earning it, and achieving it when you get it. Those two things actually line up pretty well. It's okay to take the principles we believe in and apply them to every single problem down the line and not just caveat them here or there. And I think that we need leaders that understand how to message that. For example, I'm sure Kevin McCarthy has secure the border in his promise to America, but did he have build the wall? Did he have visa reform? Did he have any other specifics in the messaging as his surrogates went out and talked about it for the last 2 months? Republicans have to get smarter at taking what we believe in and what we know we can do and saying it to people so they understand it and can believe them. And that's always going to be the case. There's never going to be a time where explaining what you believe in and how it applies to people's lives isn't at a premium. And politicians forget how to do that because they've learned to speak in a certain rhetoric that doesn't nail them down on anything.
Right, because they don't want to be held accountable,
That's
which
exactly
is exactly
right.
what we're talking about going back to the gym. You don't
That's
want to
exactly
put it
right.
into the ether because then it might come back to bite you. Republicans are notorious for that. But there's been a lot, and I've been one of them this week, who said, I don't think McConnell's a leader. I don't like Kevin McCarthy. I don't think that those two represent where the Republican movement is at this point in time. However, we do have to recognize that they are our leaders. They have done things for us. But I wonder, are they as much to blame for the midterms as the candidates themselves? Could they have done more? Could they have been in more of a leadership role as leaders and figureheads of the Republican Party? Did they fail us?
Who were the three best performers in the midterms? In my world and the races I tracked, Governor Abbott, Governor Kemp, and Governor DeSantis. None of those are in opposition of America First in any way, and none of them only leaned on a Trump endorsement to get elected. What did they do? They brought results to their states, they highlighted the problems their states had, and they highlighted how they're going to fix them or what they're doing to fix them. That's where every candidate has to start. In the House is a little bit different than the Senate. The Senate's much more independent than the House, but Mitch McConnell has a lot more opportunity to fund Senate campaigns, so there's a little bit of a different relationship. With Kevin McCarthy, I don't know he's the reason why the House didn't perform better, but he certainly has to take some of the blame. Every person in leadership does, all the way down the line. The biggest problem with what's happening this week is, if not Mitch McConnell, who? Because Rick Scott's tactic of putting out a tax plan that nobody liked and then trying to unseat Mitch McConnell by saying, well, he didn't use my plan, to me, that's knives out. And then if not Kevin McCarthy, is Andy Biggs really the person that they want? I don't think so. I think a lot of posturing's happening in the House. And right now, it just really sits at whoever raises the most money is going to have the gavel. And until there's a cultural change among Republicans to say it might be more than that, it might be principle, it might be solution, it might be someone who is so consistent that even if you don't like them, you respect them and you'll vote for them. Maybe that's who they need. Maybe that will be Kevin McCarthy. I'm not going to close the door on any of them, but I want to see results, and that was not what happened 2 weeks ago.
I just think they're so disconnected from the modern conservative movement. You don't have to be mega to be connected to America First.
Yeah.
And so it's whoever raises the money, whoever gets people in line. I mean, Nancy Pelosi is the same way. But that's the next thing I want to ask you about. Because watching the midterms, there's a lot of blame that's been thrown around by Republicans blaming other Republicans. Democrats don't do that. Democrats don't say, well, it was so-and-so's fault.
They are true
believers. This is like our coach saying, well, we would have won, but my team sucks. That kind of bothers me, and we keep doing it to each other.
It's a blessing that's a curse.
Yeah.
I think conservatism lends itself to being more independently minded and wanting someone to prove themselves to you before you respect them or call them a leader. On the Democrat side, their version of being a true believer is, hey, the end goal is way more important than anything else we want to argue about. So no matter what, once there's a call to action, I mean, you can see it on news networks, every press conference, every time somebody takes a podium. The White House press secretary can use a term and it'll get used all down the line, immediately adopted. Republicans are incredibly independent, and they're a little bit too, I think, I don't want to say stubborn, but just a little bit too self-involved on the issue that's important to them to just adopt Kevin McCarthy's tag or President Trump's tag even. And so that's a good thing on the micro level. But if you can't win the House, what does it matter?
Exactly.
If you can't win the Senate, what does it matter? That's where leadership matters. We can't come together.
Next thing, Georgia. Okay, so you're a Georgia resident. Georgia, yet again, going into a runoff, December 5th. I don't know how it's going to pan out, but how do you think the Trump announcement on Tuesday night is going to impact that race? Help it or hurt it?
I don't think it hurts it, and I'm not sure it helps it. One, it was pretty much known and anticipated. And two, Herschel Walker is Trump's guy. So if Trump puts money behind Herschel Walker, if Trump brings a ground game to Herschel Walker, if Herschel Walker becomes the way Brian Kemp and Donald Trump work together all of those are good things for Georgia and good things for the country.
Don't Brian Kemp and Donald Trump at this point really not like each other? No.
You know, Trump endorsed Kemp right before the midterms, I think the day before. And I would too, because Kemp is a winning ticket no matter how you look at it. You know, the crazy thing about Georgia is that Stacey Abrams' legacy is that she probably is directly responsible for having 2 Democrat senators, and she will never win statewide office herself. That's her legacy. And that's really interesting, which tells you that she knows what a ground game is. She knows how to put one into place. She knows how to find the money, mostly outside the state, and put it to work. But she herself just isn't a good candidate. We kind of have the opposite problem in some other places around the country where we either have a great candidate, no support, or a lot of support behind a candidate that they're not sure about. With Herschel Walker, for every person sitting in Atlanta that thinks the way Herschel talks is a little bit too simple, there's somebody sitting in Valdosta or Dahlonega or Dalton who thinks Herschel talks like they do.
Yeah.
And so I don't ascribe to this idea that he can't get votes because he doesn't seem like he went to an Ivy League college. Georgia's not a state where you have to or they even want you to. What Herschel has to do is be consistent, and if he can bring Brian Kemp and Donald Trump together for this, I think he can win it. I think he will win it. If he does that, if they continue to do this cat and mouse, people are already tired of the commercials. They're not going to show back up.
Georgia never was, at least in my lifetime, a purple state. It was always solidly red, or at least it felt that way. But
Sure.
now it's up for grabs. And it seems weird to me that a lot of these states that you would have never thought are now up for grabs. Is that a testament to the way elections have changed, voting has changed, or is that a testament to this country is becoming more liberal?
I would say Georgia is as solidly purple as Ohio is solidly red. Right now, today, Ohio's pretty red. But nobody's surprised if it turns blue in any statewide seat over the next 2 or 3 cycles. Georgia's similar. We have a very rural culture, but we have a very big metropolis right in the center. And right now, Republicans aren't selling swaths of independents on their set of ideas or solutions, even if those independents are galvanized against what's happening. I don't remember if it was a Fox News poll or which poll, but I think 73%, 72% of the country thinks that the decisions being made and the policies being enacted were not good for this country. But then in the state of Georgia, almost 50% voted for Raphael Warnock, who Herschel Walker campaigned by gluing him to Joe Biden. So it's incredibly important for even conservatives to feel like their vote and the end result of a Republican in office will yield a result.
Right. And a change, because that's what people want, and they want the wonderful things to be restored back to the Trump era where maybe they didn't like the man, but the policies were working, and that's what he can campaign on. And in closing, heading into 2024, we're only in 2022. We're not even in 23 yet, but we're already ready for 24.
Yeah.
Did the president's speech the other night, the former president's speech the other night, did it ignite a fire in you? Did you feel like it was 2015, 2016 Trump, or do you think it was lackluster compared to what we've seen before?
It's hard for me to feel a fire right now because I'm still reeling from these midterms and looking for ways to see hope that Herschel Walker will be a Republican senator from my state. I'm a very parochial guy. I care about my city council, my governor, my state legislature, then my senator, then the president. That's just my conservative ideals. I think President Trump said all the right things. I think he's got a lot of energy, and I think raiding Mar-a-Lago probably ignited his fire. But you have to take a step back and be fair about this. I don't know who's going to be in the primary. I know what Donald Trump's capable of. I want to see what the other people say. And at the end of the day, no matter how much I like Donald Trump or his policies, I want Republicans to win the White House.
Yep.
And I think Donald Trump's going to have to do some work to get that done, because there's a healthy amount of Republicans right now who don't dislike him and definitely like his policies, but they're sitting here going, if he wins, no matter how right or wrong it is, they're going to investigate him, they're going to come after him, and what does that look like for me?
Yeah.
And that's Donald Trump's biggest problem. Not that we know what he can do. We know he can win. We know he can win bigly. And we know that he can disrupt and make things. A lot of Republicans or conservatives just don't have the stamina for that.
Right.
On their TV screens and in their lives. If Donald Trump can prove to the American people, and especially Republican voters between now and the primary, that he can transcend that, then I think he wins with flying colors. If he can't, is it Ron DeSantis? Who is it?
Well, right now, the only candidate we have is Donald Trump. So for right now, I'm on the Trump train, firmly on the Trump train, and I'm just hoping that our country can come together.
He's the best president in my lifetime.
Yep.
I voted for him twice, and I would be happy to vote for him in a primary and a general election. But I also have to take a step back and say, I want my country to succeed,
Yep.
and he has to be able to succeed, his fault or not, for that to happen.
And he's got to work for it because he's not just a given. In 2020,
right.
obviously, it was a given. 2016, it wasn't. 2024, it's going to have to be worked for, whoever it is.
And we get to watch all these debates that will be entertaining, if nothing else.
And great for ratings. And great for us to talk about.
Absolutely.
Joey, thank you so much for being here as always. And I'll see you tonight at the Patriot Awards.
Yeah, we're going to have so much fun.
Up next, more of our Fox News, Fox Nation, and Outkick favorites. Stick around. Welcome back to Tomi Lahren is Fearless, powered by Outkick here at the Fox Nation Patriot Awards. And I am so blessed that I get to be with Harris Faulkner, who is the author of the new book, a beautiful book, by the way.
Thank
Faith
you.
Still Moves Mountains, and it does. The miraculous stories of the healing power of prayer. And you are a celebrity here, as you are everywhere, but especially here. You touch the lives of so many people. Of course, when I get to spend time with you on the couch and on Fox News, you do that with us every day with your journalism. But this book is a completely different thing. You've always been a person of faith, but here you're actually pouring your heart into the power of prayer. For those that haven't read it yet or haven't bought it yet, what can they expect in this book?
Well, Tommy, first of all, thank you for having me. And it's a joy to be with you and to talk about something that is so uplifting. You know what? I didn't realize how this would resonate with people based on what's happening right now in our country, but it is. People agree. It's not that they've lost their faith in God, they just don't believe that he intervenes in our lives anymore. And so the way that this book is making a difference is it's starting a conversation, but a really important conversation, not just with each other, but with the Lord. And so these are 19 stories. They're testimonies. Some of them very contemporary, stories that I've covered, people who prayed before the storm in their lives, during it and after, and the miracles through the power of prayer that have come about. And it's also a book about timing, God's timing, and what to do in the gaps. When you're praying fervently and it just seems like nothing's happening. What do I do in that gap? Well, you do continue to pray, but how you pray really matters. You know, when I was little, my mom taught me how to pray. And I was maybe 5 or 6, and we'd be on our knees together, and she would look over and she's like, stop talking so much. He's not Santa Claus. You have to listen. Listen and silent have the same letters. So when we pray, we do have to kind of settle back and just wait for the Lord to rush over us with what his answer is going to be and what that timing really will look like, how we'll know. I don't know if you know in your own life, you probably have examples of this. You've wanted something, you've yearned for it, and then when God comes through, it's a suddenly, no matter how long it took. So just one example of a story in the book that I love, the prayer closet. Lee County, Alabama, 2019, huge twister outbreak. I covered that. Remember former President Trump went there?
Yes.
So this woman in her 80s lived on a street where everything was destroyed down to its foundations, including her home. One structure survived. It was a wooden closet that was even some pieces of it missing by the time that the twister outbreak was over. She survived in that because she was praying. She had always prayed in her prayer closet. And her prayer was of gratitude for my life, Lord, and for the life that perhaps, if it is your will, you'll continue to let me live. I love stories like that, and they teach us so much about the power that we have just with our own hearts to connect with God.
I'm glad you brought up how everyone's feeling right now. We're coming off of midterms for those that are Republicans and conservatives.
Yeah.
It wasn't what Republicans and conservatives thought was going to happen. A lot of people are feeling really disappointed. A lot of people are looking forward to 2024, whether it's going to be Donald Trump as our nominee or Ron DeSantis or somebody else. They're saying we're in for a battle, not only with another party, but within our own party. Things are about to get gnarly. There's going to be a lot of name calling. There's going to be a lot of vitriol, a lot of rhetoric.
Politics.
And it is, but people now, I feel, are so divided by who they vote for. And I think a lot of people have forgotten that we're all children of God, no matter what way you believe in God. But what would you tell those people that are feeling right now like they've lost a lot of hope because of the way things are going politically, because of the way the economy is, because they can't afford things they used to be able to afford, and they feel like they're in a real dark spot?
So I'm a witness. That's the divine assignment on my life. I'm not called to prophesize. The Lord wants me to witness and share testimonies. That's what I do as a journalist, and now with this book on faith, that's what I've been called to do. And what I would tell people is treat each other like you're going to know each other forever. And you may have a disagreement right now. I mean, I've had times in my life when I've lost mightily. I lost my dad on Christmas Day in 2020. And I was frustrated with God. I didn't understand how he could take another parent in a 5-year span around the holiday season, and I have small children. Like, what do I do with that, Lord? But I don't treat God like I'm not going to know him for the rest of my life. I continue to pray. And in times of politics or differences or whatever, I always say to people, if you will just walk in the steps that really honor your understanding that we are in this together, and those steps require walking toward each other. And when you feel like you have to say something awful that you're going to regret, walk away. Don't start to sow the seeds where you say more negative things than you say loving things. And we can disagree. We can agree to disagree. In fact, I like to debate. Anybody who's seen the Faulkner Focus or Outnumbered knows I love it. But at the end of the day, I can have coffee or tea with anybody if I choose to. And, you know, this book talks about depression, drug addiction, people who have faced medical conditions that are unsurmountable. Young woman was in a nursing home in her 20s. She couldn't walk. She was deathly ill. And doctors said the only way you're going to sustain is in like this palliative care environment. Nobody goes to that kind of environment that young. And so I'm tying this to your question because she looked around for people that were her contemporaries, and they were all older, and many of them were dying and passing away. Those were some of the best relationships, though, that she had in her life because she got to know people for a season. But they treated each other like they were going to know each other forever. That's what we need to do as a country right now. No matter what everybody's politics are, you know what we are? We're Americans loved by the good Lord. That's a special category.
I think it's always powerful, too, even doing what we do and the network that we're on. People have a lot of presuppositions of what we are and what we believe in, and if we're monsters, if we're this, we're that. And when they actually meet us, if we can show them, even for a moment, that we're human beings, I felt that that's gone a long way. But that's also the grace of God that allows us to do that and not be bitter and not feel like everyone hates us, because that's a horrible feeling to feel.
Well, you know what I love about what you're saying, Tomi, and I know through commentary and politics you're super smart. And I've seen you on the Outnumbered couch. I can see the wheels turning, smoke coming out of your ears, planning the next thing you're going to say. That moment, not to go for that part of the debate that tears the other person down, primarily because she wins a lot of her arguments, but also because in that moment you don't have to be unkind and be right.
Right.
You can be right and gracious, and you do that so well.
I appreciate that. Young people, you know, I just turned 30 a few months ago, but young people right now, statistics are showing us that they identify more as spiritual, but they don't identify with a faith. Maybe they don't identify as Christian. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but I do think in large part the devices, the being on the social media, I think it's moved the younger generations away from God and into something else, which might not be bad, but you mentioned learning how to pray and how to connect with God, because a lot of young people don't have a foundation for that. How does this book help give them that in a way that's not intimidating?
So I love this question. First of all, and Ernestine, and that's her name, the 80-some-year-old woman who was in the prayer closet, Ernestine taught me and teaches others, or has taught others, you need 3 things when you get started. You need a quiet place, you need a designated time, and you need to be alone. So the first thing of the day is to make the choice. If you have the time in the morning, you don't need half an hour, just a little bit of time. Instead of picking up your cell phone, pick yourself up in the eyes of the Lord and show gratitude and praise the Lord. There are, in my book, some definite words, and people say they love this part. It's a shiny insert here, Tomi, and I picked several topics. Like, say you're not sure where you want to start, and lamenting is in your heart, you're sorrowful. A lot of people start in places of pain when they say, I'm going to regenerate, or as a younger person say, well, I want to really press in now. Mom and Dad took me to church, but now it's up to me, you know, to be whatever I'm going to be with my faith. There's a prayer, an original prayer, all of them are original, on healing, and they're short, and people can use these to get themselves started. And what I did was I put the scripture that inspires that. And so they can press in and learn more about the Word of God. But in the meantime, we have to find our own words to reach Him. They don't have to be perfect. And when you read that glossy insert, you'll see, oh, these are easy. That's just a few lines. I can talk to God about the sorrow of my heart. I know Jesus felt that, and that's in that short prayer. I believe that you just start right now to make a difference in your life. You don't have to wait for everything to be perfect, because you know what? It won't be. And you don't have to wait to be chosen for an assignment. God's already given you a divine assignment. Pay attention. Pray to the good Lord and find out what your divine assignment is. That's what I said in commencement speeches this past May and June, because the younger you are, the better chances you are of realizing those assignments. You got more time to work on it. And imagine if you work on what God gives you, if you lean into God and He leans back into you, we can't even imagine what's possible. Our mind's not big enough to fathom it.
The unanswered prayers is something that you brought up that I think is so important, because I think a lot of times we pray for things, we don't get them, we're angry. We pray for things, we get them, we forget to say thank you. We only go to God when things are bad, but what about when things are good? In closing, what would you say to people that say, my life isn't that bad. I don't maybe need God because I have money, I have fame, I have this. I don't need God right now. I'll go back to Him when I need Him.
I love that question. So pray before the storm. Don't always go. No, I mean, I'm a mom, so I understand when my girls come to me and the only time they have hugged me in a day or two, because I have teenagers, is when they want something. I just look at them and I say, well, how do you think I should react right now? You didn't check in to see how I was doing 2 days ago.
Right.
Don't wait until the storm is upon you. You may be too distracted by the storm to be able to listen to God. He may be giving you the answers and you can't even hear them because you haven't been practiced in your faith of powerful prayer. Pray before. If your life is fine right now, then pray and say thank you.
Right.
Do you know how many people whose lives are not fine right now? So pray and say thank you for this. And by the way, Lord, I want to pray for somebody else. My life is so good. One of the topics in that glossy insert is intercessor. We say we're going to pray for people, but then how do we really do that?
Right.
So we find the words to do that. If things are so good for you, then pray for someone that you know needs that prayer. And be specific. Get someone's name. Know their circumstance. I saw Tommy's beautiful pictures on Instagram from her wedding. Talking to your audience now, like I know them and I don't. But I have to say, I said a prayer for you immediately. I'm 20 years married this year in April.
Oh, congratulations.
And I know, thank you, you and your hubs are just starting out. And I prayed for you because these are the good times. And I said, Lord, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for putting Tommy in a place where she and her husband can flourish in your name. We can do that for one another. We don't have to wait for a disaster to come. And oh, by the way, they'll come, won't they? Yeah, the troubling times are going to come. Pray during the storm and remember to listen more than you talk. And then when it's over, Tommy said it, say thank you, God. Thank you for the life that you've given me and the journey that now I'm in a new place, a new adventure. That part is over. I'm going to leave that right where it is and remember to let it go.
Letting it go is a big part of it. And I know I said that was my last question. I know I have to let you go, but you reminded me of something that I want to ask you about, because I think this is important for what we do, for young people out there. As you know, you guys discussed on Outnumbered a couple months back. I was at the University of New Mexico, and I was being attacked by students who didn't want me to be there, didn't want me to speak. And for me, people asked me, aren't you angry? And I said, I've gotten so used to this at this point. I feel badly for those that felt like they wanted to physically hurt me. I feel badly for them. I'm going to be okay. Yeah. There are a lot of people that are in that situation, maybe not physically like me, who are in an area where they're being physically attacked or they have political differences with people. But right now in this political climate, what do you say to those that harbor resentment for the way that they've been treated by others, feeling misunderstood, feeling like they can't speak, feeling like they are shamed and silenced? Question. Because I feel like this book really is a tool to remember who we are. And I'd be curious to see what you would say to those people.
Well, I would say it simply this way. The person who's coming at you is in a place where they don't know how to fight anymore. they don't know how to find the right words to debate. It's easier to show that they are angry than it is to show that they are making a cogent argument for something. It's more about believing that you were wrong than understanding why they think they're right. And so you've got to show those people patience, but you don't have to stand in there and take it. You don't. And the people that I worry about are, I've got a 15-year-old, so we're already starting to look at colleges. When kids go to school, and I've told my daughters this, and someone comes at you and says, you're not this. I mean, my daughters are told they're biracial. You're not really black. You're not this. You're not that. Your mom works on Fox. She's not really black either. I mean, you can't imagine what
I can
people
only
say.
imagine what they say.
And I tell them, before you walk away, get a good look at what destruction looks like. They are destroying themselves by acting that way. But don't hang in there too long, because the devil loves a good disciple, and they will try to destroy you. If you can, walk away after taking that glimmer, say a quick prayer, and say, you know what, by my actions, I'm going to show them why they need to be different. And go live your blessed life, and don't think about them.
I love that. Harris, thank you for spending so much time, and everybody that has not already gotten a copy of your book, because I know that everybody is flying off the shelves, and everybody at Fox is so proud of you, myself included.
You.
Faith still moves mountains. It absolutely still does, and we need it right now more than ever. Harris, thank you so much for spending so much time.
So much.
And I'll see you tonight at the Patriot Awards.
Yes! Oh, that's going to be fun.
All right. Up
so
next, more of our Fox Nation, Fox News favorites. That's next. Welcome back to Tomi Lahren is Fearless here at the Fox Nation Patriot Awards, and I'm joined by my Fox Nation friend, Fox News favorite, Tom Shillue.
Yeah.
All right, Tom, we're at the Patriot Awards. There's a lot of people here that love us. Does it feel weird to be loved? Because sometimes, being that we're on Fox News, we're not always loved everywhere we go.
No, and it's funny because I was in, I started in show business probably around 91. That's when I first started running around doing open mics, trying to break into stand-up, trying to break into Hollywood. I had a dream of being on Saturday Night Live, maybe going to Hollywood to do movies or sitcoms. And I always wanted to be loved by the industry. And then they never really returned my love, But after about 10 years, I kind of broke in, and I was doing Comedy Central, doing, I did Conan O'Brien, Jimmy Fallon's show, things like that. And then I got a fan base. But when I started at Fox, probably doing Red Eye in 2011, 2012. Then the fan base started to grow. Then when I got Red Eye and I started doing the Greg Gutfeld show, it exploded. And now we have the audience. This is the audience I always wanted.
Right.
It's like, this is much better than that Hollywood crowd. I don't care about sitcoms anymore. I don't care about Hollywood. It's like, to me, this is what it's all about. This is what I got into show business for.
And here, people do love Fox News. They love their country. They love all things red, white, and blue. Everybody here is in red, white, and blue. But you brought up SNL, which I think is important. Something I talk about a lot is cancel culture.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle just hosted SNL last weekend. Some writers didn't even want to be in the room. They wanted to boycott. They were going to leave. Then it was monster ratings, YouTube even higher numbers. What does that say about the state of cancel culture? Is it as strong as it was in maybe 2020?
I think it's strong, but it never was big. Cancel culture has always been a small group of people, a small group of elites who decide what's acceptable and what isn't. And the good thing is the masses aren't listening to it anymore. I think our crowd never really did listen to that.
Right.
They didn't fall into cancel culture. But now it's like the wider culture is starting to ignore it because they know. Dave Chappelle, like him or not, he's probably one of the best stand-up comedians of our age.
Right.
And so in the old days, there was a lot of people, especially Hollywood liberals, who would say, well, if they're an artist, you might not appreciate their message, but you have to respect their craft. Well, you have to respect his craft. And I think people are realizing that now.
To me, it seems like the social media mob, though, makes cancel culture seem bigger than it is.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of power. They might be a small minority, but they have a lot of power. They have ruined people's lives. They have ruined careers, especially in 2020. Aunt Jemima got canceled. Uncle Ben got canceled. Things actually got canceled because of a social media mob that were very effective. Now I think it's starting to turn on people that are more liberal, because Dave Chappelle's not a conservative. A lot of people that have been canceled in the last several years have not been conservative. I think now that they're starting to eat their own, maybe they're reversing course a little bit. But it's still strong and powerful because someone says something and it's, fire that person, get rid of that person, I want to ruin that person's life, end their career. What is the basis for all of that?
Well, that's the thing, is that even if cancel culture doesn't work among the wider culture, so you could be a comedian, you could be a musician, you could be someone who has an audience, and the cancel culture crowd, which is very small, like you said, comes after you on social media, and then big corporations, whether it's Ticketmaster or PayPal or whatever, they will cower in fear from this small mob, and they'll say, oh, they can't play this venue, or we're not going to be able to support their payment system on this website, or Amazon Web Services will deny someone access to their, their product. The big companies are more scared than they should be, because, like you said, it's a tiny group of people.
The advertisers, that is the biggest thing. Even with Twitter, I think right now, even with Elon Musk, it's the average American. But speaking of Twitter, are you back on Twitter since Elon Musk took over? Are you active on Twitter?
I used to love Twitter. I did it all the time. And then I just kind of, I didn't quit. I just would tweet less. I just didn't want to get involved, Sometimes I'd tweet a link to a video or something like that. But since Elon, I don't know if I'm tweeting that much more, but I'm back on. And I'm trying to see what's going on with it.
Is it fun again?
I mean, it's starting to get fun, but they really haven't changed much. I mean, I think he's got to take a while. Obviously, they didn't reinstate a lot of these accounts that they canceled.
Right.
So I think that's going to take time. But I do think we're kind of coming out of that. People are waking up, and especially the massive failure that was COVID policy in this country. It kind of woke a lot of people up. I mean, some people are still asleep, believe me. The mask crowd is still out there. They want to mask our children still, right? But I think a lot of people, now that they look back on that and they think to themselves, oh, they really weren't telling the truth. They really were lying to us for 2 years. And I think that they're waking up to that. I hope.
I would say you're right. However, in the midterms, they got their COVID amnesty. There was the article saying, we messed up a lot of things about COVID. We just like to let's just wipe the slate clean. We messed up. People gave them that amnesty. They forgot who masked their children. They forgot who shut down their business. They forgot who forced vaccines. People didn't vote on that in midterms. Yeah. It's like they forgot. It's like they did just erase it. Are you surprised by that? Because I am very surprised by that.
Well, you know who I'm going to put the blame? Obviously, I can blame Democrats all day long, and justifiably so. But there's not a lot of strong Republicans on COVID, all right? I'd like to give a shout out to my two favorites, Rand Paul and Thomas Massie. Those guys were right from the beginning, okay? And they, Rand Paul, a doctor, Thomas Massie, just a smart guy who doesn't panic. But a lot of Republicans panic too, and Republican governors, lame, lame. DeWine, the guy in Ohio, a lot of Republican governors, and even if they didn't lock down, and even if they supposedly didn't panic like the other ones, Kemp was good too. Kemp in Georgia.
Georgia was the first. Remember when they said everyone's going to die in Georgia? Georgia's dead. Georgia's not dead.
Yes. Yeah. So he was good. Kristi Noem was good.
In my home state of South Dakota.
Yep. But most of them took a pass. They said, I'm just, they were as afraid as everyone else. And so when it came to the midterms, I thought they were going to be running on that. There weren't a lot of politicians who were running on COVID policy, and they should have. And I think if they reminded people who masked their children, they probably would have won a few more seats.
What is it with the masks, though? Because I got to tell you, in Nashville, I call them the green hairs. The green hairs still wear their masks.
Yeah.
I mean, they walk around outside of Belmont and Vanderbilt, and they still have their masks on alone. And they're going to always have their masks on because they're young and they're stupid. But when I fly to places like New York, when I come to do Fox News from Nashville, I know who's a New Yorker right away because they're all still wearing masks. They love the mask. They're never going to get rid of the mask. Is it really a fear of COVID? Or is the mask just a way to not have to have the bottom of your face be presentable? Because I'm conflicted. I quite frankly think they just like them.
I mean, I think it is, some people are hypochondriacs. And, I feel for them. They really are afraid. I've talked to some people. I have some friends, LA people. LA's worse than New York.
Yeah, it is.
So as bad as New York is, I feel like you walk the streets and you have, the 20% of people still wear masks. In LA, it's like 50 or 60%.
Yeah.
They're still wearing masks. So some of them are afraid, and other people are they've just been conditioned to say, like, that's what a good person does. So they're going to keep them on as a virtue signal, you know?
It is
like,
a virtue signal.
It's like a pin or an armband at this point.
I got to tell you, when Nashville did implement a mask policy, I fought it tooth and nail, and
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, I didn't wear a mask unless I had to. I didn't wear one in the grocery store. I didn't wear one in the Target. I didn't wear one anywhere but an airplane because I had to fly. But I'll tell you this, during that stupid, idiotic time that was COVID, if I would walk into Target without a mask, they would look at me like I had several eyes.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, but now I feel like it's finally starting to change to where if you are the masked person, people walk by and they're like,
Yeah.
masked person. But it wasn't that way for a time. People lost their minds for a time and were willing to really attack people in their face for not wearing their mask.
It really was I mean, people think I'm hyperbolic when I talk about COVID. It was the worst thing that has ever happened in America in terms of public policy.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of actually politicians doing ridiculous things. And, you know, the debates people got in of whether, does this work or does this help, whatever. I don't care if it helps. Like, that's the thing is that,
Yeah.
you know, when you're talking about freedom to open your business, you know, I don't care whether your plan works to reduce anything. It's you can't do it. You know what I'm talking about?
No, and if they want to do it, that's fine, but don't implement it on everybody. And these
Yeah.
little indoor, outdoor people eating outside like animals. But speaking of eating outside like animals, the holidays are coming up.
Yes.
So I want to ask you a question I've been asking most of my guests today. I have a bone to pick with people that put up their holiday decorations before Thanksgiving. Are you a pre-Thanksgiving decorator?
You know what's so interesting is that we are going to solve this question once and for all in my Fox Nation special, The Great Christmas Debate.
Yeah. Oh, see, look, and it's even a plug, and I didn't even know to plug it, but
It's
it goes
coming up.
That's a question.
That is one of the debate questions. We have two panels of Fox News personalities debating all of these Christmas questions. For instance, when is it okay to start the Christmas music and the decorations?
After Thanksgiving.
Our debate was after Halloween or after Thanksgiving. I know where you come down.
People just skip over Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
It's still a holiday, people.
It's still a holiday. And, you know, I think there's, Charlie Brown, right? You don't want to start playing the Charlie Brown Christmas special till the Halloween and the Thanksgiving special has played, right?
Exactly. You can't move ahead. Let us celebrate Thanksgiving, turkey, gratefulness, and then we can move on to Christmas. And then we're going to settle it. But where can people watch the great...
That's going to be on Fox Nation. And it's actually, I believe, that it is going to, because the special came out so well, we're going to air it on Fox News as well. It's going to be one of those specials.
Will it be after Thanksgiving?
It's going to be after Thanksgiving. It'll be early December.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, people, you have to watch that, and you know how I stack up on that. But thank you so much, Tom, for spending some time. Don't forget your mask on the way out. And we'll see you tonight at the Fox Nation Patriot Awards.
Yeah.
All right, my final thoughts are next. Contrary to popular belief, you can listen to and respect someone's point of view without absorbing it. I have some final thoughts. Folks, it's the week after midterms, and yeah, our country is divided, and yeah, it's getting worse. But here's the deal. I believe we do all want what's best for this country. We just have different ways of going about it, and that's fine. This political climate has driven us so far apart, we've forgotten how to agree to disagree. We've also been conditioned to steer clear of religion and politics, especially conservatives. The fear of discussing religion and politics has led to an inability to navigate difficult conversations about difficult topics. That needs to change. How the heck are we going to change anything if we don't step up and speak our minds? Free speech isn't just saying what you want to say, it's also hearing what you don't want to hear. And I've heard from countless people, particularly young people, who are afraid to say what they want to say for fear of being labeled, rejected, shunned, or even physically attacked. And that BS, it has to change. Political correctness is intellectual dishonesty. So stand up, speak out, find your voice, and use it. Take it from someone who is labeled too controversial on a daily basis. When you live, speak, and stand without fear, everything changes. And if that's controversial, so be it. And that's why I stand up for the average American, for law enforcement, ranchers, farmers, veterans, military, our flag, our national anthem. I'm going to ruffle feathers, and I'm going to ignite debate. I'm going to speak my mind and inspire you to do the same. I don't want to tell you how to think. I don't even want you to think like me. I just want you to think for yourself. So in the spirit of the Fox Nation Patriot Awards, love each other, love your differences, recognize your similarities, speak your mind, and above all, freedom over everything. Those are my final thoughts from Florida. God bless and take care.